This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
A rout of 5 wins in a row last season left the championship decided early, and Gasper's racking up another trophy for his mantle. The DH driver is off to take a break, but Season 2 brings us a wide swath of challenges to the SRF. Everything from the Nordschleife to Tsukuba's lesser-used moto circuit. Fortunately for some, the unusual mix starts with something of a known factor here at Interlagos. The Brazilian circuit kicks it all off as we get ready to watch the opening round of the Weekend Warriors. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, while this is one of the shortest tracks for F1, it seems quite long for the minuscule little SRF.
That's right, Joe. Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, one of the most beautiful circuits on the Formula One calendar, much less the Weekend Warriors calendar. Short though it may be, Joe, it stands tall in the minds and memories of many a race fan. A fascinatingly unique track full of 15 high-speed sweepers, wild elevation changes, and tight bank turns. This famed 4.9-mile or 7.96 kilometer circuit is uniquely built into the hillside of the Sao Paulo collegiate suburb of Interlagos and nestled between the two reservoirs of Guarapiranga and Billings. These two bodies of water, along with its eastern-facing hillside perch, makes this autodromo one of the most susceptible to rapid weather and track temperature changes, a surprise many leagues and series are discovering now in this, the second iRacing season to feature dynamic weather. While Turn 1 through Curva do Sol may be cool as a foggy London morning, trying to take Junção at speed may be like trying to start a foot race in socks on a hardwood floor. With the skittish nature of the SRF combined with the hot tires and the aforementioned massive variations in track temperature, we're likely to see a lot of drivers struggle with grip on all sides of the car during this 40-minute race. And with only one pit stop and limited fuel, taking tires is not an option. If it's not already clear, I absolutely love this track. But you know what else I love? Watching a spicy hot lap around this Brazilian GP circuit in our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming up to turn 1, the long uphill climb makes it a good braking zone to attempt to pass. But executing can be tricky with how the elevation goes away quickly and the track switches back and forth. When no one is willing to give way, that's when accidents happen. Just a small lift through 2, and then it's flat out through Curva del Sol. That brings us to the backstretch, which is the only other sensible place to set up an overtake. It's just long enough for a whiff of the draft to reel you in and give you some hope for an opportunity at turn 4. This one is a lot more straightforward, but you still have to worry about overshooting the corner because of how it drops away. It's not a lot, but enough to affect the car. Thankfully, with this being a more modern circuit, there's miles of parking lot runoff on the outside to save you from a spin or just outbraking yourself. 5 is just a gentle bend at the exit of 4. Bring the car back to the left and get ready to tackle 6 and 7, which can be tricky with the lift throttle oversteer the SRF experiences. You'll slow for 6, get on the power momentarily, then lift a little to get the front to bite for 7. Then there's not much of a stretch before you're braking for 8. Get greedy on the inside curb because it's flat, wide, and all of it is considered inbounds. By now we've hit the technical back portion of the circuit with a series of switchbacks. Once again, you need to be wary of lifting and unsettling the car. Coming up is the Duckspill, which is the slowest corner of the track. It's a sharp right-hand hairpin with a curved braking zone and a fair bit of camber. But as you exit, you'll want to switch right as soon as you can to help straighten out turn 11. Let the car drift all the way right, straighten out, and then get the car slowed for 12. This is the most critical corner of the track. There's really nothing distinctive about this one other than it's the last time you'll hit the brakes all the way until turn 1. That means the front straight is going to be nothing but draft battles as long as 2 cars are close. You might expect to see drivers waiting until 12, back off from the car in front, and focus on really getting a great launch out of the corner. Just cut all the way across the pit entry to minimize steering angle and distance because once again, it's all considered inbounds and you won't get a cut course. Then it's a cruise to the line and you've now finished a lap around Interlagos.
You see a lap around Interlagos, and well, it might be sunny on this part of the circuit right now, but as was mentioned, it has been changing a lot as we've watched the warm-up and qualifying. It'll keep drivers on their toes for sure. The championship started out keeping the drivers on their toes last season. As we mentioned, Gaspers came away with the win. He was challenged by Lindoff until about 2 rounds to go and just could not gather enough momentum to overtake him. Daniel Sadro had a very good run. He almost actually took second away from Lindoff at the very end. There were 6 points between them when all was said and done, and those were your top 3 for the season. In the Spec 2, there were no big surprises. Alejandro Lero, who finished 6th overall, that's out of all drivers in the Spec 2 there. He wins the championship there. Distant second for Ed Doherty, all the way down 15th overall. So this bumps Lero up to the Spec 1 championship this season. Let's take a look at the race details, though. Adam, what do we have in store today?
Well, we've got a round 1 of 12 for this SRF Weekend Warriors. It's open setups with 35% fuel, so limited fuel tank means that a pit stop will be required. The race distance is 40 minutes, and the points are rationed from 100 to 25, with 190 goes down by 10. That starts to taper off a little bit further back. The incident penalty is -2 points for each 10 incidents, and there is 1 fast repair. So if you make a mistake and hit somebody hard, you can come in and get a replacement car.
And that has come into play at times. Some drivers have gotten good results, even wins, while using their replacement car. Now, if you enjoy this season, if you enjoyed last season too, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network. We've been covering the Weekend Warriors on IESN last season and this season. We're very proud to be part of the stable of IESN. Definitely want to encourage everyone to subscribe so that they don't miss a moment. Qualifying is currently underway. Michael Shaw's lap there probably won't count, considering the Canadian was way off course coming through the Desida del Lago. Right now, it's Hootaludis up at the top. Jason Perry is following very, very closely. The number 97 well, actually, I shouldn't say very closely. Right now, it's about 7 tenths between them, but it was incredibly close in the warm-up for a while. The top 3 separated by 0.02 of a second. UK&I driver going to try to do his best now that we don't have Gaspers around to see if maybe he could take a championship this season. Adam?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what's even more fascinating is the separation between 2nd and 3rd right now. Now 3rd and 4th. Jerry McAreevy is only, what, 5 thousandths away from Jason Perry? So that's a very close battle as Donald Fitterer takes 2nd place now, just 0.5 back from Dimitri Hootaludis.
Wow, a lot of drivers struggling to get up to the Greek driver, but we had a flood of new drivers up to the top 5 here. As you mentioned, Fitterer is 2nd. Flavio Saturnino finds himself 3rd in qualifying. Antonio Reese, who looked very good in the warm-up, is down in 6th. He could come in and spoil this party still. Fastest lap yet again for Hootaludis. He increases it, but only by a little bit. They've got about 5 minutes left, and just under 2-minute laps means there's only a couple more available for those out running. This is open qualifying, and we were talking about the draft and its effect around here. I have to imagine everybody's trying to hook up with someone quick or maybe a teammate in this qualifying just so that they could help themselves along, Adam.
Yeah, following around someone faster than you, especially if you can get a good run, off of Zhengkao, it's gonna affect your lap time significantly. And it looks like Hudaludis has managed to pull that off a couple times, as well as Donald Fitterer. Another aspect of that is, as we said, the weather changes. The track temperature right now at 99 degrees. That's pretty hot going into this session, but it's a lot cooler than it was just a couple minutes ago when it was 106. So these temperature changes are really affecting the times and the cornering speeds, even in these SRF cars.
Now we see Adam Bradshaw heading in to abandon this lap. He should have time to get back out. Reason we were watching him is he is second in the Spec 2 championship, right? Or excuse me, in the Spec 2 race today. The pole for that is actually in second place. That's Fitterer. He's a 211 car. That's the way you can determine who is Spec 1 and Spec 2. Spec 1 are all under 100 on their car number. 200 and over are all Spec 2 drivers. Oh, well, looky here. David Gaspers, who said he won't be going for the championship, is making an appearance. At the very least, the number 23 car, our current champion, has showed up very, very late in qualifying. He wasn't even here in the warm-up, so it'll be fascinating to see what he can do with very little practice.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of the drivers right now are cringing a little bit because they know how fast Gaspers is, and I'm sure Hudaludis is among the top of those drivers, kind of kicking himself right now, wishing that Gaspers wasn't here. Everyone may love the guy, personally, but when you're competing against people and as a driver, sometimes you just wish those guys would stay away.
Give yourself a chance to have a go at the top spot of the podium. Edward Doherty down in 16th. Is he going to complete this lap, or is he coming in? Yep, he's going to cross the line. A 154 flat is his fastest. And he ups that to a 53.9. That is going to be good enough to up himself to 12th place.
Yeah, this Spec 2 class is actually very competitive. Even though Fitterer may have about a 0.5 second lead against what is now Adam Bradshaw in the second position for the Spec 2, like the rest of the Spec 2 class is clustered together within about half a second. So that's going to be a very interesting battle to watch when we get down to racing.
Midwest driver Daniel Sadro gets himself onto the front row. Well, temporarily, Flavio Saturnino immediately takes it away from him. The number 79 beats him by about 0.05 of a second, half a tenth between those two. Still, as you mentioned, 0.4 between Saturnino and Dimitri Hudaludis. And Dimitrios has not been out on track since we saw him last go in. He seems very confident in his pole time.
Yeah, I think Hudaludis probably has it, ready to go unless Gaspers can get something going. But if you noticed, Flavio Saturnino was right underneath the wing of Antonio Reyes, and that draft really helped pull him up to that, second spot. And so just being off pole, that's a great starting position, especially going into this really complex turn one.
Well, bad news for everybody else around. Gaspers has got a draft in the form of Adam Bradshaw. Let's see what this lap has in store. He'll get one more chance to come around. Hopefully this one counts for him. It does, a 53.1, and that puts him in fourth. Not quite pole, but we've seen these draft races certainly give you plenty of opportunities to go for the win, even if you are not the fastest car out on track. Yeah, a little bobble into the Senna S. He's still got the draft of Bradshaw, but will this next lap produce something faster for the DH driver?
Hopefully that car coming out of pits pulls over, and he does, and it looks like Bradshaw's going to pull over as well and let Gaspers through. That's not that much of a problem because Gaspers is getting into the technical section now, and even though they're about to go through the Ferradura, it's still not as important to have the draft through here. Talking about the draft, Dimitri Hudaludis may be proud of his P1 spot in qualifying here, but that's not going to be as nice of a thing when he's got drivers breathing down his neck coming down the Reta Aposta at the beginning of the race.
Certainly, and we could see some swapping around, but much like we've watched in the MX-5 World Tour and other series with lesser powered cars, I wonder if this will be a rather calm affair for the top group as they just try to make sure that they can save fuel during the first half of the race, or if everybody will be scrambling at the beginning of the season to try to get themselves a win from the get-go. We're watching Gaspers complete this lap as the clock ticks down to 0 with only 10 seconds left here in qualifying. Everybody essentially now finishing up to put themselves on the grid, climbing the hill, the long, long uphill. Foot to the floor for David Gaspers, our current champion, the number 23. This is his last opportunity to improve on this 4th place. Let's see if this 53-1 becomes anything less. It does, a 52-6. And that puts him in 2nd place. That is the front row for David Gaspers.
Even without a draft going onto the back straight, that draft down the Red Aposta really helped him get to that 2nd spot. So that's a very impressive lap here at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, Daniel Sadro going to abandon his. Let's see, we've got Jerry McAreevy here, and he is shortly behind Antonio Reese. I'll keep an eye on each of them. Antonio tended to be fighting for podiums, though he struggled to have pace for wins up against the likes of Gaspers in the past. Here's Reese across the line. Is this 11th going to be better? No, it is not. That lap does not count for him. In the meantime, McAreevy goes faster, a 53-1. That puts him in 5th.
5th place is going to be a good spot here. That's 3rd row. That means you're going to have a ton of draft, what a lot of oval racers call a super draft, going down the Red Aposta, coming out of the Curva del Sol.
Miroslav Juracek, he currently sits in 13th. He's a bit of an up and down driver when it comes to one lap pace, and he's not confident this one will improve, so he abandons his qualifying. Jason Perry, though, what's Jason Perry got? Spider-Man currently sitting within the top 10, a 53.4. His first lap in qualifying was his fastest. Could he bookend it? Yes, he can. A 53.1, 5th place for the number 97.
Impressive run there. And I think that's going to be everything. Everybody's pulled off the track except for Saturino, who's just making his way back around to the pits. But I think that's going to complete qualifying here.
It will indeed. That puts Dimitrios Houdaloudis on the pole. He has returned, and he looks to try and challenge Gaspers this season. If Gaspers keeps showing up, that is. He claims he won't go for the championship. He'll start from 2nd today. Let's see what the current champion can do. Flavio Saturnino, I think he'll be one to watch out for. He'll start in 3rd today. And Daniel Sadro, 4th place on the grid. Jason Perry, P5 with a last gasp effort, with Jerry McAreevy starting 6th. Donald Fitterer will be P7. Then you've got Richard Yolland, driver who showed up late last season, used to be a regular in this series. Let's see if he sticks around full season. He'll be P8. James DeBoer will be 9th. Steve Elson, a little bit of a disappointing qualifying for the number 56. He starts in 10th.
Next up, we have Antonio Reese in 11th. Also, Christopher Patterson, the 2nd of the Spec 2 drivers, in 12th. On row 7, we've got Miroslav Juracek and Carter Kundinger starting side by side. Then we have 15th is Adam Bradshaw, and 16th is Rick Hansen. In 17th on row 9, we've got Edward Doherty, and 18th is Michael Shaw. Back in 19th, Bob Kern and Dominic Bureau will round out your top 20.
21st, going to be C. Love with Gorka Iterati next to him, 22nd. Next row starts with Jeff Jacobson in 23rd. Zachary LeVay starts 24th. P25 goes to Todd Hansen. Then it's John Dion in 26th with Wayne Palmer in 27th and Ramon Regalado in 28th. John Nielsen will be 29th. Gary Wolbo, 30th. The last 2 cars did not get a time in. Richard Franco, 31st, and Andrew Spicer, 32nd. Not entirely sure that they are going to be starting this race. Indeed, it looks like they are not in the session right now, so they are going to be DNSs as the cars start to grid up. Get ready to do the rolling start behind the Porsche pace car. And we go racing for 40 minutes in round 1 of the Weekend Warriors. You hear all kinds of fascinating things if you peek in on the radio before the race as the drivers chat and discuss things. One thing that we learned today, even though he's got the pole and he seems to be very fast, Dimitrios Houdaloudis has had problems with his internet. Today he is working by Wi-Fi from his neighbor, actually. So the number 27 is working off hopefully a strong enough connection. But if it gets close out there, Adam, I worry for the Greek.
Yeah, netcode can be a serious thing. And you know how a lot of professional drivers will drive sick and it really affects their race and their mentality. Driving on Wi-Fi is another thing that's similarly going to affect you. So I think that we'll see whether or not he can hold off Gaspers. But, you know, if he blinks out as he crosses the line, he may be in serious trouble with black flags even. So it may not even be netcode that may cause the issue. It may just be his connection as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't wind up that unlucky. Something we don't really discuss a lot, that those connection issues can cause. Accidentally essentially puts you either a lap down or falsely accuses you of cutting the course, unfortunately. Coming through the technical back half of the course, this could make the difference, Adam. This section, we talk about the draft and how it can help you keep up with the other drivers, but I feel like maybe if you're fast through here, it could almost separate you and give you an advantage over the others to keep you away from that draft.
Yeah, you can definitely pull down through this intersection of Sector 2. This is where you can gain your advantage. If you can break that draft through this center section, then they're not able to catch you going onto the back straight and up the pit straight. So that's absolutely where you're going to make your most time.
All right, up the hill. You can see how many clouds are in the sky. We've had a lot of cloud cover. Starting the race, it's going to be about 99 degrees Fahrenheit, 84 in the air. So still relatively hot, but I have seen it go up and down significantly all across practice as they come back into the sun once again. It's going to be Dimitri who has control of the field as the Porsche pace car pulls into the pits. It's a lot of P's. Green flag is out. First round is on its way, and a very, very good start from Jason Perry, who makes it 3 wide, up, down, looking for the top spot even, and Daniel Sadro has to go off track due to some connection problems as they weave their way through the Senna S. It looks like Gasper's going to manage to get third, but Antonio Reese has a problem. He has to collect the car. He loses tons of positions. It is a nightmare start for a couple of our major players.
Yeah, we had a couple cars actually spin and go around coming through the Senna S and through the Curva del Sol. So here they come, 2 wide for the lead, well, 2 wide for second, and then 3 and 4 wide down the back.
Jason Perry took another look into the Interlagos on David Gaspers, but unfortunately the UKNI driver just could not make it stick. Backs up into third, settles for that now. So your top 5 order after that as they head through Ferradura is Hudaludis, Gaspers, Perry, Juracek, and Makarivi.
And unbelievably, Daniel Sadro actually spun in the back after those connection issues, so he's way off the back, as well as Rick Hansen in the Spec 2 class. Here they go. They're starting to string out single file here. Oh, Gaspers is off the track.
He manages to come back on, doesn't even lose second place, but he does lose time up to Hudaludis. This could be exactly what Greased Lightning wants. It's 1.1 seconds between them. We'll have to wait and see if this is enough to break the draft.
And back in 15th and 14th, Flavio Saturnino has lost a ton of positions from the beginning of this race. He's way back there, packed in the back of the pack. He's right on the back of Christopher Patterson. But this is not the start he was looking forward to at all.
Well, while the fast drivers seem to be struggling at the start, the drivers who aren't nearly as fast are taking advantage of it and gaining plenty of positions, including Jerry Makarivi, who now finds himself a slipstream past Juracek into P4.
Yeah, he's making a really good run here, and there's still a lot of side-by-side battling as they go into turn 1 and down the Senna S's. These cars are not handling the way they'd want to, and the track temperature is actually up 3 degrees as Saturnino actually gets a little loose, and we got another car going through the center of the course.
Oh, and that is Jeff Jacobson. His car gets turned around. He gets it going once again, and this was all on his own. He was attempting a pass on Dominic Bureau. Looks like maybe just came in too hot.
Yeah, these cars got a little flighty under throttle, so if you're not fully planted, the back end will come around on you, and I think that's exactly what happened to him.
Don't need to go to it, but John Dion also had a spin in the Descida del Lago. Similar situation, just lost it on his own. Meanwhile, we're watching Jason Perry still apply intense pressure on David Gaspers, our current champion. When one of our Spec 2 drivers is falling down the order, this is a major player in that amateur championship. That was Adam Bradshaw, who got tipped by James DeBoer heading into turn 8.
Oh, he hits
turned around.
And he spun out again. So even after this accident, here we go on the replay as he goes here into Ferradura. He's up on the inside and he gets squeezed a little bit, and that's just gonna, here he goes, and he just was going wide to try and take a better line into the corner, and he just gets clipped.
I missed this second part. What happened? Did he have help on the second half, or?
I don't believe so. I think let's watch it. It's right here. And he just, yeah, I think his steering column must have gotten broken or something in that first incident, because he's all over the track and he's actually hit the wall again coming up to the back straight. So yep, I think I can see his steering is broken. That rear axle, the left rear, is broken on that car, so he's trying to make it back to the pit and get that second car.
That slightest touch for poor Adam Bradshaw. Oh, and James DeBoer, actually the driver that touched him, he's turned around now. This one into the curve at his soul.
Pretty crazy race so far. These cars are not liking these hot temperatures, and everyone's getting a little loose. There he goes. He just gets into that compression at the bottom of the curve at the beginning of the Curva del Sol, at the bottom of the Senna S's, and that just launched the car around.
Come back to the lead. Now, Gaspers has regrouped. He's caught up to the back of Dimitri Hudaludis, his old rival, and is sitting right underneath his gearbox. Jason Perry followed him. He's still within a couple tenths. McAreevy on this train, and finally you get a little bit of a split to 5th place Juracek.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it looks like Hudaludis is actually holding up the field, especially these top 5. Jason Perry's actually taken a couple good looks on David Gaspers, but Gaspers playing defensive as well as offensive here, showing the pro driver that he is.
The question, I think, is going to be, is Gaspers, who goes a little wide coming out of Zhongchao, is he going to try and take the lead? He's got the run. He's looking to the outside. The reason this is significant is fuel saving, Adam. I suspect we could see some games here now that we've got a 4-car train running away.
Definitely, but I think Gaspers knows how fast he is and knows he can even save fuel probably ahead of Hudaludis. We know how much Gaspers gapped the field in previous seasons, and he's going for it here into turn 1. He tries to block off Hudaludis, but it does not work.
Still side by side through the Senna S. This is actually slowing them up significantly. Jason Perry thinking about maybe making it 3 wide. McAreevy gets into it 4 wide potentially. No, he runs out of room. Instead, it's going to be two two-car tandems pushing up towards the front. Perry gets the run, shoving the likes of Gaspers into the lead. Hudaludis comes back to the inside of Descida del Lago, and unfortunately for Perry, it doesn't quite work out. He still manages to get onto the podium. That even might slip away. Down to Ferradura, Jerry McAreevy comes to the outside. Will this battle ever end? It all kicked off on the front stretch. Finally, they settled into a single file line.
Yeah, McAreevy is just, playing it smart and just looking on. He tried it there on Jason Perry, but he's actually the one who was the first to back out down the Reto Aposta, and he's now just watching this battle, looking for an opportunity to make some passes, but fuel saving is important, so he's probably not going to push the issue too much.
So what this has done is allowed Fitterer and Juracek to pull up behind them. Just an update as well on that Spec 2 race. Fitterer leading it, obviously, up in 6th with the top group. He seems to have taken over Leiro's place in terms of a Spec 2 overachiever. They are gapping the car behind, which surprisingly is Steve Elson. I said he had a disappointing qualifying. He's made up for it in the race, though he's lost touch with his top group.
It looks like we had the 270 of Chris Patterson off track. He also went back down the field. He's now struggling to get back up to speed going through Margello now. But yeah, he had a little bit of a struggle, and he's now back up to speed, but the battle's still going, raging on up front.
In fact, there's a pass for the lead being attempted. Gasper's ahead of the likes of Hootaludis, but how long is that going to last? Hootaludis got his nose ahead, a little bit too much curve for David Gaspers. That puts him on the outside of Curva de Sol. Is this going to be enough for Dimitri? It will be, but they're going to go 3 wide yet again. Jason Perry finds the draft, slingshots down to the very inside, but this has got to be sorted out soon. It looks like Dimitri, using the discretion as the better part of valor, he breaks the earliest. Even though he had the inside, Perry not able to outbreak the likes of Gaspers, who retains the lead.
Now you need to carry a ton of speed through that corner, and with these cars and their relative speed to downforce ratio, Gaspers was able to get a better line coming out of the corner there. And so through the Desida del Lago, now through Ferradura and entering the S's, it looks like Dimitri's actually under pressure here from Gary McAreevy.
Jerry took a little bit of a peek down into turn 8 for sure, but thought better of it. They have really brought up the likes of Juracek and Fitterer now, though those two sitting almost politely behind, I'd say. I wonder if they're getting the best of the fuel saving in the draft, or if they're just not quite fast enough to be able to do that. We'll find out.
Well, look at the gap that Gaspers and Perry are putting on Hootaludis. I don't know what's going on with Hootaludis' setup, but he's not really feeling it as much. We'll see whether he can pull here going down the back straight.
Yeah, that's a good point, that with this being open setup, it could be somewhat down to that, especially with these changeable conditions. Maybe Gasper's a little bit more adaptable in that car. We ride on board with McAreevy, gets up behind the Greek driver, gives him a bump draft.
Yep, and this looks like fuel saving to me. McAreevy looking inside, but decides better of it. He just knows that, being in tandem with these front 4 actually, well, realistically, these front 5 is actually going to give him a good benefit, so he's not in any rush to go forward.
We got a 3-wide situation farther down. Antonio Reese in 15th, trying to split the middle between Bob Kern and Wayne Palmer, and he's got it done. Beautiful job by Antonio Reese. Despite the horrible start to the race, he's trying to come back through the field.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable move, just a move of sheer brilliance and braveness, just coming up the middle and realizing that the draft he had. Here we go on the replay here. Take a look at this. He's got the draft from the back of those 3, and he just shoots straight up the middle, and he's the latest of the late breakers here, pulling ahead of all of them going into turn 1.
Nicely done. Well, the Club Iberia driver still leads ahead of Kern and Palmer, who seem to have slotted in, realizing he's a fast car and need to maybe ride his wake. We've focused so much on the top cars, we haven't really given a whole lot of attention to this mid-pack, which has had its fair share of back and forth battling. And we should point out, Adam, we are in the pit window now.
Yeah, pit window is open, so it's most likely, it's a smart move to take fuel only, and I'm assuming that most drivers will do that. With the temperatures the way they are, and with the pack starting to spread out a little bit, some of these guys might consider an early pit stop. But at the same time, draft is really important, so you're going to want to make sure you pit with other people as we go back to the front.
It is still the likes of Gaspers leading, but now Dimitri's caught up to the back of him, pulled up to the side. You could see behind them a little bit of a battle between Perry and McAreevy. 2 by 2, they head into the Senna S. Dimitri has a nose ahead, but under braking, Gaspers comes back at him. It switches directions, and it's going to switch again. Gaspers carries the speed. In fact, a lot of speed. Poor Dimitri Hootaludis going to lose another position as McAreevy slingshots by.
Yeah, looks like McAreevy's got a really good run here, and I think he might even take this position as they look down here at the Desida del Lago corner, and looks like they're all going to slot back into to single file. We actually, during all this, we had a taker on pit road. Steven Elson is our first pit road taker, and he has taken fuel. He's going to pop out here in, looks like what's going to be probably 20th.
Well, since we don't have Stevie Ray, who traditionally is the first to pit in this series, we've got a different Steve doing it. Elson going to elect to take his place for now. We'll see if that pays off for him. See McAreevy actually taking a little bit of a look on Gaspers. He has his sights set on potentially winning. I'm trying to think if we've actually watched Jerry manage to get a win so far in this series. He's certainly gotten podiums and is fast, but I'd have to check my stats.
Yeah, Jerry's getting a much better corner exit here. It looks like he's saved up his tires for a couple laps, and he might even be able to challenge David going up here on the backstrap.
Right on board with our leader. This is Gaspers. You can see even sporting the Weekend Warriors champion there on his rear, letting everybody know who won the last season as they come up the hill. All four of them in a line. McAreevy ducks to the outside, going to take the place of Hudaludis, who did this last time, and it didn't work out for him. Dimitri actually rocking up to the back of his car.
Gaspers brakes later.
Oh, man, he's too good at that. No change in position so far. Oh, boy, Dimitri had a hell of a run, but he just could not do anything with it.
The run wasn't going to work. Coming through the Senna S's, you got to make sure you get that run going through the Curva del Sol, because coming out of the center S's, that person's going to block you off every time, especially if they get a little loose. They're just going to wash right out into your line. Here they go through the Descida del Lago, and looks like Hudaludis had another run there, but was blocked up again.
Has to lift off. That's going to open the door for Jason Perry. And indeed, he gets the inside into Ferradura. Could he get two? Not quite. Couldn't get his nose in on McAreevy. Still, move Perry up to the podium spot.
And they got to be careful here, because while they're battling, Gaspers is getting away through this technical section. They got to straighten out and make sure they stay on his bumper and get that draft.
Yeah, look at how much time they lost just through those two corners. Perry got it side by side through 8 and Pinorino, and that cost him nearly a second. This could be critical. This might actually decide the race right here.
Yeah, they might have let Gaspers get too far away. We'll see whether or not Jerry will have the run here. Oh, whoa! Gaspers going way wide. That's definitely going to give Jerry a run. Let's see whether he'll make the pass.
Well, I don't think it's an if. It's a when. There he goes. So much momentum lost for the champion. There goes one. There goes two. Are all three going to slip away from him? Finally, he gets his speed up. Hudaludis is looking on his outside, and he's going to try, but I'm not sure that he's going to get it. Indeed, he lifts a little bit now.
Yeah, he's on the inside of Perry here going into one, and down the center S's. I think he's going to just put his bumper right there on Perry's nose and just make sure that he can't get by. Looks like McAreevy got a little loose as we go through to a replay here as we take a look at Gaspers off track here.
You know, I think he knew what we were thinking, and that he knows this is the critical moment. I really got to break the draft, and it almost looks like he tried too hard.
Yeah, but believe it or not,
Gaspers back in the lead again.
Up to the front.
Yep, he got a good run down to the Descida del Lago. McAreevy couldn't hold him back. He's back to second. Perry in third temporarily before he finds Dimitri to his inside. In Ferradura, Dimitri into third.
And we've had a couple more takers on pit road during all of that. We had Antonio Rios come in and Todd Hansen as well. They're back in the back of the pack. Antonio Rios coming out now, but the battle's still raging up front.
Apologies to the mid-pack for really spending so much time on this. At least some love to that Spec 2 race. Fitterer, who is leading it, is only one position ahead of second place in Spec 2. Edward Doherty. Now, unfortunately for Ed, it's nearly 7 seconds between first and second in Spec 2 right now. So he's not really challenging, but a nice haul of points for our Spec 2 podium.
And the reason why Fitterer has such a big gap is because he has attached to the back of this 5-car pack in front. And he's just on the edge of that draft, but it has been towing him away from his competition and Doherty behind.
Sometimes it's not about one lap pace. Sometimes it's about your race strategy and a little bit of luck. I'm sure Fitterer is pretty happy with how this is working out so far. We've almost hit the halfway point. Who will we see break this in two exactly? We'll find out soon. They complete yet another lap as they plunge down the Senna S through the Curva del Sol onto the Retta Aposta. And I think Hudaludis is going to take a look. Nope, he's content to stay in line.
He might make a late lunge here. Nope, he decides to stay in line. Yep, as he goes through here. Now they go through the Descida del Lago again. Whoa! McAreevy getting extremely loose and powering through it. That's a risky move in these cars, but he made it stick.
And despite it, Hurtalutis can't come back at him. Now we had a change for position down in, I believe it was 12th. Elson coming back from his pit stop just overtook Bob Kern. This was for 14th position. Elson is our highest pitter so far. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob's been struggling a little in this second section of the race here, and he's not really had much for Elson. Elson just blew straight by him on the Red Pasta, so I don't know what's making Bob struggle here, but he's not really having the race that he was looking forward to.
Well, remember, he qualified lower than Elson. He hasn't taken his stop yet. If anything, I almost think this is a pretty good race for Bob Kern. He's in 15th, having started 19th. He's up our number of positions. We've only had 2 DQs so far, actually. John Dion and Richard Yolland are the only drivers to have ended their race prematurely, even though we had 32 in the session during warm-up. Remember, Franco and Spicer were DNSs today.
And McAreevy was trying another run at Gaspers outside of turn 1, and that move is just not working. He's going to have to lunge it up the inside one of these times if he wants to get past. But with pit stops coming, that might not be the best strategy.
Well, good strategy for Dimitri. He's manages to get right on by McAreevy down the Retta Aposta. That positions him nicely behind his rival, David Gaspers.
Yeah, it's possible McAreevy decided that it's too risky to keep doing this fight. He's burning up his tires. He's wasting a ton of fuel. Maybe he's just going to sit back and watch this battle happen as Hurtalutis goes on the inside.
He's trying to position himself up to the front. This makes me think that maybe pit stops are soon for these two. Try to get him front before you come in. And David Gaspers is fighting back. Meanwhile, in the popcorn position, McAreevy waiting for an opportunity. This one might come because off track for Hurtalutis. Doesn't slow him up too much. Just a couple wheels off. Still side by side, actually. He comes back at him in the duck spill. Nobody willing to give way.
Oh, now Dimitri gets on the outside there, and that line just does not work very well. McAreevy taking a look, but deciding better. And so here they go down the front stretch. We'll see whether or not anyone can make a pass or whether somebody takes the pits this time.
I almost wonder if one of them could get on the radio, get someone to go with him into the pits to try and jump Gaspers. He's got to run down the front stretch, though. He's definitely not coming in this time.
McAreevy, let's see what he does.
Oh, big lift there from McAreevy. He's just going to wait patiently, trying to go deeper on the brakes. Dimitri challenging almost the master, I'd say, of this, as Gaspers has been outbraking everybody so far. It doesn't quite work. And once again, being on the outside of Curva de Sol just isn't producing results for the Greek driver.
And McAreevy taking advantage here and going up the inside. He's got the inside going into the curve to the Descida del Lago, but he brakes earlier, and that allows Gasper to just stick his bumper right there in front. But, oh, McAreevy's got a good run.
Keeping the challenge on for the current champion. Still wheel to wheel. 3 wide now as Hurtalutis comes up there. Still the latest of the late breakers is David Gaspers.
What a race we have going on at the front of the field. You would have thought these guys would be saving fuel, maybe thinking tire strategy a little bit, you know, managing tire wear. But no, these guys are going tooth and nail.
And here's what's fascinating in all of this. It's actually narrowed down to a 5-car battle because they've dropped the likes of Donald Fitterer. The Spec 2 leader is starting to lose his grasp on this draft train.
And the car immediately behind him, now up to 8 seconds. Well, actually, it just dropped 4/10 in just that last sector, is Edward Doherty, his challenger. So if Fitterer drops off the back and Doherty can get drafting with Carter Kuntinger, this could be a really important development.
Heading up the front stretch once again. Do we get any takers, maybe? Oh, I think we do. Gasper's in. And Juracek. He's got a friend.
All right, remember, these are fuel stops only, so they're going to be pretty quick in and out. We'll see where he comes out. The pit stops have been taking about 28 to 29 seconds, so this should pop him out somewhere around P13.
Which is actually where Elson is right now. Has Elson pulled a little bit of a trick on everybody? Have they been fighting too much, potentially? Gasper's coming through. Where's Elson? Elson just hitting the first corner. It's
Oh,
close.
no!
Oh, no!
It's out in the pit lane.
Gasper's actually into the Armco on the pit exit right after his pit stop. That actually will probably end his race. And indeed, he takes a tow. He can't take his spare car. It'll cost a tremendous amount of time. The current champion with an almost rookie mistake.
Yeah, this is something I did not talk about in my track description, but this is one of the slickest pit exits in the whole series here, and it really shows when it bites you. He got there on the paint, and just that right rear tire just lit up, and it spun him straight into that Armco.
I've always wondered, because I've seen so many cars try to push that pit exit so much, when we'd see one, and that's the first time I've ever seen a car actually have an accident coming out of the pits. Unfortunately, it is a very talented driver who wound up doing it. This opens the door for Dimitri Hudaludis, who currently leads the race but has yet to take his pit stop. Juracek, who came in behind the likes of Gasper's, is our highest pitter due to that.
And here come the leaders into pit lane.
They respond strategically. Perry goes with them.
All right, we'll see whether they've pulled enough of a gap being drafting partners. Remember, Juracek had to go around Gasper's, who was wrecking in the pit lane, and so we'll see whether or not that had a penalty time-wise.
So Juracek actually got a little bit of a draft and is having to deal with the likes of James DeBoer. DeBoer pulls over and lets him through when he realizes it's a fast driver. Juracek coming through now just as the other two are pulling out. A little bit of those connection problems starting to come into play with Hudaludis, who disappeared for a moment, but they are going to be side by side with Juracek, but Miroslav is going to be ahead and take what will effectively be the lead. No, excuse me, no, McAreevy. McAreevy will have it, and he is way up there.
Yeah, McAreevy had a fantastic pit stop and was able to get out ahead of the likes of Hudaludis and Perry, so he is right now in the captain seat, unbelievably.
We got some information from Gasper's. Apparently, you talked about not needing tires. Well, he accidentally took front tires, and that's what caused him to wreck.
Cold tires with hot rears, you know, that's a bad combination. It's going to cause you problems every time. An unbalanced car is really kind of the end of the world for these SRFs, because they are really hard to handle in general, and so I can completely understand Gasper's frustration and, you know, the kind of slapping your head moment, but, you know, we've all done it, and just happened to do it this time.
Oh, the frustrations of accidentally leaving the tires checked in some cars. Unfortunately, it cost a potential win for Gasper's. Now, Donald Fitterer, our Spec 2 leader, is going to lead a lap overall. The 211. This isn't the first time we've seen a Spec 2 driver lead. Leyro managed to do that last season. He has not pitted yet. I think he should be able to be out for one more, but then at that point, I'll be shocked if he manages to stay out longer than that.
Yeah, he's made a really good play with that pit strategy, but you know, we'll see whether or not it pays off, because he does not have draft, and the likes of Juracek and McAreevy and Perry all do.
Still got a number of drivers left to come in. This little run that we've got with Hudaludis on the back of Perry. Spider-Man goes to the inside to fend him off. No, he doesn't. He goes off to let him through. He lifts, and the Greek driver moves up to 5th.
It looks like we've had Hansen and Patterson both come in for pit stops as well. But this battle up here with Hootaludis and Perry is really heating up here. Look at Hootaludis going around the outside.
This is Juracek, actually, that he's trying to overtake. I think he's trying to position himself to catch up to McAreevy. Doesn't quite work. Wow, late dive down into turn 8. Surprise dive bomb. Almost gets it done, and they bang wheels. That sends him sliding to the outside. Perry gets his nose in, but Hootaludis recovers and gets the car going once again. He's got to be careful. We've already seen one fast driver fall victim to suspension damage with those side-by-side touches.
And get this, McAreevy has pulled a 2.5 second gap on these two. Hootaludis knows that this is his opportunity. Gaspers has wrecked out. This is his chance at the top step of the podium. He is just itching to get by Juracek.
This is going to make a very happy McAreevy if he can keep this up and keep those other fast drivers at bay. Still that battle raging on between Juracek and Hootaludis. Side by side, over the line, up to the first corner. We've seen this many times today. And O's ahead for Hootaludis, and he's going to take the position.
You know, I was going to say, these guys have got to get in line and start drafting off one another. If they have any chance of catching McAreevy, they can't be battling through the technical sections either. So they really need to work together to get back up there so that they all have a chance at the top step of the podium.
I would agree with you on that one. They've only got 10 minutes left to go, so time's starting to run out for that. Especially if they're not really close on pace to Jerry McAreevy. They really need that slipstream. Few more cars still waiting to pit. My prediction was wrong. Fitterer still going. 10 minutes left to go. I suppose he was at the very back of that train, so he probably was saving the most fuel of everybody.
Yeah, that might have been a strategy. He might not have been falling off on raw pace. He might have just been backing down a little bit. And it looks like Hootaludis has gone around.
Oh, no. Grease lightning got a little greasy coming out of Ferradura. And, oh, it looks like the curb you're going to see on the replay here.
Yeah, he clipped that curb. Oh, my goodness. It's just a miracle he did not get hit there.
Steve Elson with an eye full of the number 27. Let's watch from his perspective.
Yeah, this is one of those change your pants moments. Unbelievable move there.
Oh, great job to keep his head together. He didn't even lose time. He's still on the back of Jason Perry, who's on the back of Miroslav Juracek. Now, though they are losing touch with McAreevy, this is still a battle for second, effectively. So Elson, who we thought maybe could have lost an opportunity because he fell off in the first half, has used the pit strategy very effectively. He gives a little bump drop to Jason Perry, and this three-way battle for second place continues on. Now, they just went by the likes of Donald Fitterer, who took his pit stop. He's coming out, but I think he's lost touch. This will return Fitterer in 5th place.
Yeah, he's lost the draft, but, you know, we've been seeing that front group battle a lot, so if they start battling again, he'll be right back up on them.
The bad news for Fitterer is, well, he's probably got Dmitry Hootaludis with a lot of red mist inside that visor right now. The number 27 has about 6 seconds to go, but we know how fast Dmitry is. And I'm afraid that top 5 is not totally secure for our Spec 2 leader.
So McAreevy's gap, he's opened it up to 3 seconds now. He's got another 0.5 in just that one lap. And so this is really going to start stressing out Jason Perry. Jason was the one who was up. Whoa! Juracek goes off track. Perry's really got to pass him so that he can lead this train back up to the back of McAreevy.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Jason's really wishing he could get the hurry up with these two. And that's going to be the tough thing, I would think, Adam, is I'm not sure that I could really tell which of these three is the fastest. And that's kind of what you want, is the fastest driver up at the front, as it looks like a bobble from Perry is going to hand over that spot to Elson now.
Yeah, you got to think clean and consistent here. It really doesn't matter necessarily who's the fastest driver per se. They've just got to, you know, keep in line and make sure that they're doing slingshot passes so they don't lose more ground to McAreevy, who's now up to 3.5 seconds.
I'm not sure that they are going to be able to gain on him now unless we get a mistake from McAreevy with only 7 minutes to go. This group of three is basically battling for best of the rest. Perry now in fourth, Elson up to a podium spot, and Juracek in second. Incredibly, in all of this, because we haven't mentioned it in a while, Juracek started 13th, Elson 10th.
And we have a battle right now for what looks like the 15th position. We've got Bob Kern trying to make a pass here on Todd Hansen as they go into turn one down the center S's. And these guys have been battling it out for a couple laps now ever since their pit stops. And even though looks like it's breaking out a little bit, Bob Kern's got a good run. We'll see whether or not he can get past Hansen going into the Descida del Lago.
Don't forget Hansen back there could challenge the likes of well, the different Hansen, actually. It's Rick Hansen and Todd Hansen together, I should point out. Rick, the trailing car behind these two, still fighting a little wide for Todd. And Bob Kern knows it. He gets the run, but he's going to be forced to the outside down towards Ferradura. He thinks better of that and lifts before they hit the right-hander.
Yeah, Todd covered him off pretty well. A little sketchy on that blocking there, but at the same time, he just didn't give Bob Kern the room there on the outside, and so Bob had to back off, and he'll try it again, most likely down the back straight.
We'll give a little love to the 0-2 if we can. Carter Kundinger is sitting in 7th. I'm trying to remember if he's done any of these races before. We're familiar with Carter from the Autobahn series, and he has climbed well. Meanwhile, Edward Doherty, number 294, loses out on the fight that he was in, that we were watching moments ago. He was ahead of the likes of Hansen, spun in the Ducksbill, and falls down to 18th.
Yeah, he just clipped the grass there on the inside of that corner. You know, the car turned in a little bit more than he was expecting, and so, just got that rear tire in the grass and spun it around.
Well, we got a three-way fight for second. Juracek in the middle of both Perry and Elson coming to the Descida del Lago. Perry has the inside but doesn't come out in front. That belongs to Juracek. Elson all the way out to the runoff. Actually, never mind. Perry does have the run now. He is going to be able to get side by side at the least to Ferradura, but can he make a very difficult move on the one-way round of a double apexer? He's trying. He's working his hardest to see this through, but it's just not there for him.
It looks like these guys have decided that they're not going to catch Jerry, and so now they're battling it out for second place, and this battle's just heating up as it looks like Elson's going to get a good run here on Perry. We'll see what he does.
Indeed, Perry trying his best, but it looks like Miroslav Juracek is going to fend him off. Now, they're battling very hard, and Fitterer has gained a little bit. It's 1.5 seconds now, so we could see Donald get involved in this. We've got 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go this time, and Elson's got quite a run here, so does Perry. We'll see whether they go 3 wide again into turn 1. Looks like Elson's going to push Perry here. Maybe he thinks that they're faster, or maybe he thinks he can get a late move to the inside here.
Oh, he is giving a good push. Absolutely shoving him along, and that gets both of them completely clear of Juracek. Almost outbreaks himself down into the first turn, but Elson collects it back together. He stays in third, but that is only for the moment. I have a feeling this is going to switch around even more.
Yeah, Elson's going to have to move out here just to keep Juracek behind the two of them, but Juracek's going to the outside. He's looking to make it 3 wide going into this corner.
Oh my goodness. The gloves are off between these three. Who knows how this podium is going to wind up, as Elson once again getting very liberal with his use of the track limits. That puts him ahead of the side-by-side battle between Juracek and Perry. Perry to the outside. He tried this last time, and it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen this time either.
And remember, with Elson's moves to being liberal with the track, it's only -2 points for every 10 incidents, so if he's got some incidents to use, now's the time to use them just to stretch your gap a little bit.
And it's helping slightly, but once they hit that front stretch, I have a feeling that the number 56 is going to get reeled back in. It's only about half a second between them currently. Oh, Juracek also going all the way off. Now that could do it, though. Elson, he gets farther and farther away now.
Yeah, I think Juracek might have been holding those two up. If Perry's stuck behind Juracek again, going onto this front straight here, so he's really going to have to try and do something here to really make a move and get by. But I think he's deciding to sit behind and push a little.
It's going to be awful close on that, actually, if this is the white flag. Actually, yes, it is the white flag. So Jerry McAreevy crosses with less than 2 minutes to go, and he will, unless he makes a mistake, be cruising home with the win. Jason Perry still fighting side by side with Juracek. Donald Fitterer has now fully caught up to them. What was a 3-car battle to decide the podium is now a 4-car battle. Bad news for these drivers.
Yeah, believe it or not, Fitterer might be on the back of them by the time they get to Junkao, and if he is, he might be able to slingshot past all 4 of these guys, all 3 of them.
Look at them weaving down the Retta Oposta. Elson trying to break the draft, a look to the inside, and Jason Perry on the final lap spins it around. He abandons his opportunity to fight for the podium. That means it is now down to Elson and Juracek, with possibly Fitterer getting in there, but he is dropping off.
Yeah, Juracek really has a run here on Elson. He's going to have to stay close to these technical bits in the second sector here. And if he can stay close, oh man, screw staying close. He's going for the lunge.
He almost got into Elson there. I thought for sure he was going to turn both of them around, and Fitterer is going to take second. This helped Donald actually catch them. And Dimitri Houdaloutas has been gaining hand over fist with all this intense fighting. I mean, he's still about 3.5 seconds back, so it's not likely, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen at this point? This is our leader. We've been watching so much the battle for second that we really haven't watched the number 67, who climbs up the hill towards the start-finish line. Jerry McAreevy is going to open the season with a win here in Brazil. The UK&I driver is your winner today.
Juracek's got a run on Elson. He's looking to the outside, but that's the wrong way around the corner. They bang doors here. Elson gives him a little bit of a shove. And it looks like Elson's probably going to take it. Elson takes it the line.
Awful close. Fitterer's got to be happy with not only the Spec 2 win, but 4th place. Houdaloutas 6th. 9th place is a battle between the likes of Iturrate and Flavio Saturnino. Flavio's got to run, but his momentum is interrupted. That's going to deny him at the line. Just inches to spare. Down
14.
Yeah, 14th. This is the poor Daniel Sadro, who is up at the top. He was only able to get back to a top 15 finish ahead of Todd Hansen.
We're going to go to a replay here of Perry's incident there coming out of the Descida del Lago. Let's take a look at on board here with him. See, as they're weaving down the straight, that's heating up the tires. I think he just takes it into the corner. He's trying to get good corner speed off. And as you see here, he dips it in and powers off. Oh, and he just loses it around.
This car does not like bumps. That just a little tiny jostle was all it took for Spider-Man. Now let's look at the finish, though, and how close this was. This is Elson and Juracek. I almost wonder if Juracek had a similar situation to what we saw later, where he had his momentum slightly interrupted. If he would have dived out of that draft a little sooner, maybe he could have had it.
Still a photo finish for second. Not shabby at all.
Incredibly close. Less than half a car length between them. So as the drivers cool down after a very intense race, we are going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We've got the unofficial results coming after this. We've also got driver interviews. And between that, you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. So make sure and stick around.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
Welcome back to Interlagos. We watched an incredible race here. Not necessarily for the win, at least at the end after the pit stops, but the battle for second was intense. Jerry McAreevy really did a fantastic job managing to work his way up to the top, take advantage of the pit stops, and get enough of a gap to cruise his way to the victory from sixth place. Elson from 10th. He certainly proved me wrong. I said that he did not have a good qualifying from what I've seen of him in the past. He made good on the race. He took second place by less than a tenth of a second over Miroslav Juracek, who rounds out your podium. He also started from 13th. And how about our Spec 2 winner, Donald Fitterer, from 7th on the grid to 4th in the race. The number 211 taking home a huge haul of points. And then Dimitri Hudaludis, unfortunately, a late race error sends him down the order, and he collects himself back to 5th, but still he could have been in it for the win. Jason Perry takes 6th place. He also had an incident on the very last lap, spinning himself out, taking him out of the running for the podium. Carter Kundinger, we mentioned what we believe is a bit of a newcomer here in the Weekend Warriors, going from 14th to 7th. And then how about this? 18th to 8th for Michael Shaw. What a good run for him. Gorka Iterate goes from 22nd to 9th. And then it's the reverse for Flavio Saturnino. He starts on the second row and winds up only with a 10th.
Antonio Reyes in 11th place, coming home just outside the top 10. Our second place in the Spec 2 was C. Love in 12th overall. Then we have James Tibor coming in 13th position, and the sad Daniel Sadro down 10 positions from a starting position in 14th position. Up 10 positions from his starting position was another Spec 2, the third place driver in Spec 2, Todd Hansen, coming in 15th. Then we have Bob Kern in 16th and Rick Hansen in 17th. That's your top 5 in the Spec 2. Then we have Dominic Bureau in 18th, Jeff Jacobson in 19th, and Wayne Palmer rounding out your top 20.
Zachary LeVay winds up 21st, Edward Doherty 22nd. Christopher Patterson finds himself going from 12th on the grid down to 23rd. Adam Bradshaw, similarly, we witnessed his woes with an extra pit stop, means all he could do was 24th. Gary Wolbold, 25th, and John Nielsen in 26th. Ramon Regalado, he finishes 6 laps down in 27th, a bad day for him. Then we get to the DNFs. David Gaspers, 28th, John Dion, 29th, and Richard Yolland, 30th. Franco and Spicer did not start. Let's take a quick chat with our winner, Jerry McAreevy. And, I think we're going to have to start calling you Sailor, Jerry, because after the pit stops, it looked like smooth sailing all the way to the line for you.
Hi, Joe. Yeah, I don't know what happened after the pits. Last I seen Demi, he just disappeared. And I thought David disconnected, but he said he took front tyres or something. So, yeah, it was pretty, I don't know, after the pits, it just seemed to just all pan out.
That was complete opposite to how it was in the first half of the race. I expected it to be a little bit more of everybody riding in line because of how powerful the draft is coming up the front stretch. But that top group of 6 were swapping positions almost every corner, it looked like.
Yeah, everybody seemed very racy, which was good. It's good when you're all fighting for position. I prefer that, so maybe I mixed it up a lot.
Well, this kicks things off with a nice win. And last season, we heard that Gasper said he wasn't going to be fighting for the championship, but he obviously showed up today. Do you have your eyes on the trophy this season, considering if Gaspers isn't around, it seems like that really opens things up?
No, I'll just do it for a wee bit of fun, just due to work. Unfortunately, I'm going to be working for the next 2 weekends, so I'll probably miss them. So, no championship.
Well, you certainly gave us some fun out there today. That was a fantastic win. Thanks for the excitement, and go enjoy some champagne, sir.
Cheers, Joe. See you guys later.
That was Jerry McAreevy, our winner here today. Up next, we have our winner in Spec 2. Adam's talking to Donald Fitterer.
Yeah, Donald, P4 overall, but most importantly, P1 in the Spec 2 class. Man, how did you do it? How did you hang with those front 6 for that long before the pit stop?
I actually got in some good practice, Adam, and I really enjoy this track for some reason. I really sync with it and can do pretty well here.
Dude, I'm right there with you with loving this track. And it seemed to me like you were conserving a little bit of fuel. You went quite long on that first fuel run. You pitted all the way in, what was it, lap 16? That's a whole 3 laps longer than the rest of the top leaders. How did you make that work?
I pretty much just sat behind Miro. I knew Miro was much faster than me, and I just didn't need to pass him. So I just coasted back there, and I think that helped with.
And coming into those closing laps, you were closing right up to that top, the top 4. And did you think you had something for them maybe before Perry spun out?
Well, they were fighting, so it made it a little easier to catch up to them. And I really wasn't going to try to pass anybody because I already had number 1 wrapped up in the 200 series.
Well, that was a brilliant strategic move there, Donald. And is there anyone you want to thank today?
Yeah, shout out to Steve for putting this all on, and you guys for broadcasting. I love to show it to my girlfriend. She laughs because she doesn't really understand sim racing, but I enjoy showing.
Well, we try and convert everyone we can to understand the amazing ways of sim racing. Thanks again, Donald, for your amazing race, and congratulations.
Hey, thanks, Adam, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Cheers.
Thank you. All right, Joe, that was Donald Fitterer, 4th place overall and 1st place in the Spec 2 class. Let's see what we got before we close it out.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have any more interviews from this race, which is a shame because we had so many good stories to talk about and lots of awesome action to watch. But I guess everybody, or at least over here in the States, are going to go enjoy St. Paddy's Day today. So make sure if you are out there yourself doing so that you enjoy it responsibly. And before you do, subscribe to IESN. We brought you this race on that channel and many others, including all the World Championship races. All you got to do is click the big red button on their YouTube page. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. You can find us on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, I talked about the variety of tracks. We're going to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. That is going to be an incredible challenge. Expect that to be a race of attrition. It'll be Sunday, March 24th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.